The year was 1932. The place? Western Australia, a land known for its vast, rugged landscapes and resilient people. The enemy? Not soldiers, not spies, but emus. Yes, you heard that right. Emus, those large, flightless birds that roam the Australian outback. These birds, known for their long legs and perpetually grumpy expressions, were about to become the unlikely adversaries in a military campaign. They were the target of Australia's most bizarre military operation, the Great Emu War, a conflict that would pit man against bird in a struggle for control over the land. Picture this. Thousands of emus, fresh from breeding season, are on the move. Their destination? Farmland. These birds, driven by instinct and hunger, were heading straight for the crops. Their mission? To eat everything in sight. Wheat, barley, and any other crops they could find. The emus were relentless, and their numbers were overwhelming. The farmers, understandably miffed about their crops vanishing down emu gullets, appealed to the government for help. Their livelihoods were at stake, and something had to be done. The government, perhaps feeling a tad overconfident, decided to deploy soldiers armed with Lewis guns against the birds. These were not ordinary weapons. They were machine guns used in World War I. Thus began a war for the ages, a testament to the unpredictable nature of nature and the dangers of underestimating your enemy, especially when your enemy is a 6-foot-tall bird with an attitude. The Great Emu War would go down in history as one of the most unusual and, some might say, comical military engagements ever recorded. It was a battle that highlighted the resilience of the emus and the challenges faced by those who tried to control them. The plan, if you can call it that, was simple. Find the emus, shoot the emus. What could go wrong, right? Well, for starters, emus are surprisingly good at not getting shot. They're fast, they're agile, and they have this uncanny knack for dodging bullets like they were playing a game of avian dodgeball. The soldiers, bless their cotton socks, were utterly unprepared for this level of avian agility. The Lewis gun, a fearsome weapon in the right hands, proved to be woefully inadequate against the feathered onslaught. It was heavy, it was cumbersome, and it jammed more often than a teenager's bedroom door. To make matters worse, even when the guns did work, the emus seemed to shrug off the bullets like they were mere mosquito bites. The soldiers, their morale plummeting faster than an emu on a downhill run, must have wondered what they'd signed up for. This wasn't war. It was a comedy of errors, starring a bunch of bewildered soldiers and a cast of thousands of feathered extras who didn't seem to have read the script. The emus, for their part, seemed to be thoroughly enjoying the chaos they were causing. They would taunt the soldiers, appearing in small groups and then darting away just as the soldiers opened fire. They even developed a cunning tactic of splitting into smaller groups, making it nearly impossible to get a clear shot. The soldiers, on the other hand, were not enjoying the experience quite as much. They were hot, they were dusty, and they were starting to feel like the punchline to a very bad joke. The emus, it seemed, were winning the war, and they hadn't even fired a single shot. Section 5. Retreat. The emus are winning. After a few weeks of this utter mayhem, the Australian government, realising that they were not, in fact, fighting a conventional enemy, decided to cut their losses. The emus, with their speed and agility, had outmanoeuvred the soldiers at every turn. The government officials, who had initially thought this would be a quick and easy operation, were now faced with the reality of their miscalculation. The order was given: retreat. The soldiers, who had been battling tirelessly against the relentless emus, were finally given the command to withdraw. The soldiers, no doubt relieved to be escaping the feathered onslaught, packed up their guns and hightailed it out of there, leaving behind the battlefield that had become a symbol of their struggle. They had faced an enemy unlike any other, and the relief was palpable as they made their way back to safety, leaving the emus, the undisputed victors of the battlefield. The emus, with their natural instincts and sheer numbers, had proven to be an unstoppable force. They roamed the battlefield, now free from the threat of human intervention. The Great Emu War was over, and the emus had won. This bizarre chapter in history had come to a close, but it left a lasting impression on all who had witnessed it, and the emus had won. They returned to their natural habitat, continuing their lives as if nothing had happened, while the humans were left to ponder their defeat. It was a humiliating defeat for the Australian military, a stark reminder that not all battles are won with sheer firepower. The soldiers, with their heads hung low, returned home, carrying the weight of their unexpected loss. But a hilarious victory for the emus, who had become the unlikely heroes of this strange conflict. Their triumph was celebrated by many who found humour in the idea of a bird outsmarting the military. And for anyone who enjoys a good underdog story, this was one for the ages. The tale of the Great Emu War would be told and retold, bringing laughter and amazement to all who heard it, especially when the underdog is a bird that can't even fly. The emus, with their flightless wings, had soared to victory in a way no one could have predicted. Section 6. A second shot at glory. The return of the Lewis gun. Believe it or not, the Australian government wasn't quite done with the emus yet. A few years later, they decided to have another go at culling the feathered fiends. Once again, the Lewis guns were dusted off, and the soldiers were sent back into the fray. This time, they were slightly more successful, managing to kill a few more emus. However, it was still a far cry from the decisive victory they had hoped for. The emus, it seemed, had learned from their previous encounter, and were even better at avoiding bullets the second time around. Section 7. Political fallout. Even politicians laughed. The Great Emu War, despite its farcical nature, caused quite a stir in the Australian Parliament. Politicians, those masters of rhetoric and spin, couldn't resist using the war as an opportunity to score points off each other. Debates raged about the cost of the operation, the effectiveness of the Lewis gun, and the overall competence of the military. One politician even went so far as to call it a disgrace to the Australian army. The emus, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware of the political storm they had caused. Section 8. The victorious emus, masters of the outback. In the end, the Great Emu War was a resounding victory for the emus. They had faced off against the might of the Australian military and emerged triumphant. They had proven that they were not to be trifled with, that they were the true masters of the outback. The soldiers, on the other hand, learned a valuable lesson about the importance of choosing your battles wisely. Sometimes it's best to just let sleeping emus lie, especially if those emus are bigger, faster, and more determined than you are. Section 9. Lessons learned. Never underestimate an emu. The Great Emu War, though often ridiculed as a military disaster, offers some valuable lessons. It teaches us to respect our feathered friends, to never underestimate the power of nature, and to always be prepared for the unexpected. After all, if the Australian army can be defeated by a bunch of flightless birds, anything is possible. So the next time you see an emu, take a moment to appreciate its quirky charm, its surprising speed, and its indomitable spirit. And remember, if you ever find yourself on the wrong side of an emu, it's probably best to just run. Section 10. The legend lives on. Australia's hilarious heritage. The Great Emu War may be a distant memory, but its legend lives on. This peculiar chapter in Australian history, where soldiers armed with machine guns faced off against flightless birds, has become a source of endless amusement and fascination. It's a story that's told and retold, often with a healthy dose of exaggeration and embellishment. Around campfires and dinner tables, the tale of the emus' unexpected triumph is recounted with great humour and a twinkle in the storyteller's eye. It's a story that reminds us that even in the annals of military history, there's always room for a good laugh. The Great Emu War stands as a testament to the unpredictable nature of conflict and the resilience of the human spirit in finding humor amidst adversity. So, let us raise a glass of Foster's, naturally, to the emus, the feathered victors of the Great Emu War. Their story is not just a quirky footnote in history, but a symbol of the unexpected twists and turns that life can take. May their story continue to amuse and entertain generations to come. As children learn about this unique event, they are reminded that history is not just about dates and battles, but also about the stories that make us laugh and think. And may it serve as a reminder that sometimes the best way to win a war is to simply refuse to play by the rules. The Great Emu War teaches us that creativity and humor can be powerful tools in the face of challenges, and that sometimes the most unconventional strategies can lead to the most memorable outcomes.